Michigan Out of Doors Online is brought to you in part by...
For over 30 years, Vanguard Outdoors has made the gear that turns a regular hunt into another fine day of field. We know that a good shooting stick or a nice pair of binoculars can make or break your day. Our design teams include serious hunters who work hard to bring you the best sporting optics, shooting sticks, tripods, bags, and more. We are Vanguard Outdoors.
Well, hey everybody, welcome to Michigan Out of Doors. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We've got a brand new show for you, and we're going to kick things off by spending a little bit of time with our good friend, Gabe VanWormer.
That's right. Gabe and his family seem like they are always out in the woods with the cameras rolling, and they didn't disappoint this year during Firearm deer season. They have some great footage to share with us. And speaking of exciting hunts, we have some viewer video to share with you this week too.
That's right. We recently saw some footage of an elk hunt in northern Michigan. I tell you what, some awesome footage, and we got to spend some time with the hunter, find out more about that hunt. You won't want to miss this week's show. You stay tuned. I'm Jimmy Gretzinger.
And I'm Jenny Silik, and it's time for Michigan Out of Doors.
From the first spring rains to the soft summer breeze, dancing on the pine forest floor, the autumn colors catch your eyes. Here come the crystal winter skies. It's Michigan out of doors.
What a beautiful day in the woods.
Someday our children all will see this is their finest legacy, the wonder and the love of Michigan. As the wind comes whispering through the trees, the sweet smell of nature's in the air. From the Great Lakes to the quiet stream, shining like a sportsman's dream, it's a love of Michigan we all share.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by
Country Smokehouse, a sportsman's destination since 1988. Featuring varieties of homemade sausage, jerky, brats, and gourmet entrees. Holiday gift boxes can be assembled in-store or online. Details at countrysmokehouse.com.
By Showspan, producing consumer shows including the Ultimate Fishing Show Detroit at Novi Suburban Collection Showplace. The show features fishing tackle, trips, boats, and seminars from top pros. The Ultimate Fishing Show, Novi. By Greenmark Equipment. Greenmark Equipment is a John Deere dealership network in southwest Michigan and northern Indiana. Greenmark provides sales and services to farmers, commercial businesses, large property owners, and homeowners. Information about pricing and products available can be found online at greenmarkequipment.com.
Well, if you have been watching the show over the last several weeks, you might be able to tell that we've had a pretty successful year when it comes to getting hunts on camera during the firearm deer season. Well, that luck continued for good friend of the show, Gabe VanWormer. We're going to stop in on a late season hunt from just a couple of weeks ago where Gabe had a really cool encounter with a pretty cool buck.
But I'd say it's probably blowing 15 miles an hour or so, and it's already 20 degrees, so it's going to be a cold sit. But I've got my 350 right behind me here, and I'm set up to shoot these woods right here as the deer are coming out. They cross within 200 yards either way. I've got about a 400 yard stretch here that I can shoot 200 that way, 200 that way. So I'm very confident out to 200 yards, maybe even more, but with this wind it's going to be tough. So anything under 200 I should be good. Looking for a big buck tonight, or if a big doe comes out and gives me a good shot, I'll take that too. So I've got my 10 millimeter handgun as well, so if one walks right down the fence row, I might have to get the handgun out. I'll have to put on my earphones because that'll be really loud, so that'll be fun if one comes in close. Choices. I think side right now. He looks like he's a 9-point. I think it's a buck that I've got on camera many times. I don't really want him to come out here. I'd rather he just go back in the woods and make my decision for me and a bigger buck comes out. But I've got deer coming on this side now. This might end up drawing him out of the woods into the field, because there's some deer coming out on this side now. Yeah, and there's some deer coming out right by him. On those does right out here, and they're getting so close. I couldn't do much, and all of a sudden I saw the buck. He was outside in them, and so he ducked back in the woods, and I think I got him. I had the camera all discombobulated. I was on does over here, and then a does over here, and back and forth. I think I just shot a nice buck with the Breton 350. That was cool. He died about 15 yards from one of my tree stands. That is so cool. This is the reason I like shooting those all copper bullets. They create a big hole. He didn't go far at all. Take a look at that. Really nice Michigan buck. Nice 8-point. I thought he had a brow tine on the other side. I couldn't be happier. I was not expecting that. Had a great hunt for being late gun season. Made a good shot on him. He only went about 50, 60 yards. Look at that. Very nice buck. Right in the late season of gun here in Michigan. And somebody almost got him during bow season. This really stinks. He's got a big wound here on his back. It looks like it was kind of getting some gangrene in it or something. So, man, I was all turned around in that tree stand tonight. Every which way. I had does coming out every which way. They're all heading across the road. There's some beans across the road still up in a cornfield. So these deer are heading all the way across the road. It's not that far away, but that's where they're headed to. And I'm kind of in between the bedding area and that. And that's what happens. Shoot a nice buck. Very cool.
Well, from time to time, we get some viewer videos sent here to us at Michigan Out of Doors Television, and we try to share that with you as often as we can. We recently saw what appears to be a new record book elk being taken in the northern part of the Lower Peninsula with stick and string. Well, when we saw that video, we had to track down the hunter and hear more about the entire story. Well, we are here today with Brandon Cantola, and we are here with this giant Michigan elk, and I don't know the whole story, but I did see some awesome viewer video that we are going to kind of be rolling throughout this interview. Let's just start with Brandon. How long have you been putting in for an elk tag here in Michigan?
This took me 18 years.
18 years.
18 years, yeah.
Okay, so let's, as we kind of get into the video of you hunting earlier this year, walk me through getting the tag and opening it. Was it online? How did you find out you got the tag?
Well, the results come out the same time the bear results come out, and so I got online, checked my online portal or whatever you call that, and noticed that I had 0 elk points.
Okay.
So it didn't tell me right away that I was successful. I just noticed I didn't have any points, and I'm like, that's not right. There should be quite a few elk points. And then as I kind of clicked through some of the pages, I noticed that in fact I did get the tag. It said I was successful, and the way the DNR handle it, they actually that evening when I got home from work, there was a packet of information already in my mailbox, and
Wow.
so it was it's that quick.
So did you call buddies? How did you get the word out that you got the tag?
Oh yeah, I talked to my brother and some friends, and I got a close friend that was on the hunt with us. His name's Sean. We've always kind of agreed that if one of us got a tag, that we would try to do it together.
Okay.
And so he was one of my phone calls, and my brother, who I wanted to be there to try to capture it on video. So.
Now, how did you decide whether to go on your own, get a guide? I know we get contacted by a lot of people when they get a tag. You know, should I get a guide? Should I go on my own? How did you walk me through that process?
I wasn't opposed to using a guide, no, but I did want to try to do it on my own. I wanted to kind of feel everything out, just feel like I did my research, and it just seemed like the few guides that I did speak with, what they could offer just wasn't what I was after. I was really looking for an adventure, an experience. This took me 18 years of applying. I didn't want it to be over in a half hour, quite honestly. You see a lot of folks that, they get out of a truck and they go up to a field edge and they find a bull and they shoot it, and which is great. They're successful, but I was really after, more of an adventure, and that's, why we decided to go more or less a DIY style.
Now, some people might think you're crazy to try to do it with a bow and arrow. Was that a big, long decision, or did you know right away, hey, I'm doing this with a stick and string? How did you come up with that?
Well, it did help that a couple years ago I shot a cow elk in Idaho with my bow. And it was a DIY type hunt. And so I felt like, give me 12 days, which is what you get here, 3 hours from home, and you give me the ability to scout and kind of do this, that I could figure it out. I could do it. I could do it. And so, I wanted to do it with my bow. That was the objective, but I also knew that this was once in a lifetime. So if it really came down to it, I would use a rifle. And I did have both with me.
Okay.
The second segment that we were in, the segment that I shot them in. So I did have a rifle with me, but luckily I didn't have to use it.
So did you go up and scout one time, 2 times, several times? How many times did you go up?
I think we were up there 4 different times probably to scout. I had countless phone calls. I spoke with a number of different outfitters that were, or guides that were, they knew that I was trying to do this on my own, but they were willing to give up information, and that was so helpful. Without that information, I probably wouldn't have been successful, or at least not to this extent. So, I certainly thank them for being willing to give out information that they didn't have to. I think they just felt like, hey, they could appreciate a guy that's trying to, kind of do this on their own with a bow and arrow. And
nice.
Certainly way different than what you'd expect somebody from a deer hunting standpoint. Usually that stuff is kept close to the vest.
Yes. Well, so walk me through the hunt that you got him on. That was a morning or midday hunt, or what was it?
It was a morning hunt. It was the first day of the second segment, which was September 15th. And so we knew it was going to be warmer that day. We had a bit of a south breeze, so we kind of came in from the north, planning on trying to just keep knowing that the elk were likely going to go south and bed in some darker timber. We decided to try to get in behind them so that they weren't going to wind us. So we just worked our way. I guess it was probably 10 o'clock in the morning when things happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you know that bull was in there then, or you had him on trail camera in that same general area? Or
we knew he was there. He was one of the bulls that were in the area. We didn't know whether he had cows, or we didn't know whether or not he was actually in that area that particular day. It was just kind of a guess. We were just, more or less just through the research that we had done, we knew that, they were going to end up in some darker timber through the day to kind of stay cool. And by this point in the morning that they were likely, at that point bedding, they weren't out feeding any longer.
So walk me through the actual shot itself. He was kind of coming through. It looked like you had quite a bit of junk in the way, but were you able to pick a window pretty easy?
Yeah, luckily my buddy had his wits about him, and he threw out a cow call, stopped him. And when he stopped him, it gave me enough time to get my arrow knocked, get drawed back on him, and get ready for the shot. There was a little tree that was kind of hiding his vitals, and I just kept thinking to myself that, there's a lot of shoulder there, and do I have enough room?
And how far was he at that point?
22 yards.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, 22 yards. So I drew back. I had to kind of tip back or kneel back to kind of get a different angle away from that little tree, and I let it go. As soon as it hit him, he kind of wheeled around, and I could see arrow sticking out of him. It didn't get full penetration, or at least didn't get a pass through. So my immediate worry was, did I get enough penetration?
Yeah.
Is it lethal? I'm thinking, did I get too much shoulder? And so all these other things start going through your head.
So at that point, so you pulled the trigger, you felt pretty confident about the shot. You weren't sure what kind of penetration, but you knew it was this bullet. I mean, did you know it was a 7x6 at that point, or you just knew it was a good one? Did you know it was that one, or?
No, I didn't know it was that one.
Okay.
I just knew it was a good bull.
Okay.
I wasn't really good to be picky. Going into this, my hope was that I would, I was hoping to shoot something that was decent.
Yeah.
But I wasn't trophy hunting.
Okay. And how long did you guys wait before you tracked?
We waited about an hour. My buddy Sean, he wanted to go right away, start tracking the blood, and I said, no, we're not doing that. And we called the DNR, told them that I shot a bull and we were going to wait a little bit. We waited an hour, and we had gone up to the spot where I had shot, paced it off, investigated, noticed the arrow there, found some blood, kind of examined what the arrow looked like as far as the blood. I figured I had pretty good penetration, so I felt pretty good about it, but certainly until you walk up on him.
So you track him, and when you guys find him, the audio just goes crazy, and you guys are just yelling and screaming, and that was awesome.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7x6, baby.
Thank you.
He went nowhere.
Hold on.
That was a 60-yard track.
How long did it take you to calm down before you could actually, gut the elk?
Oh, it took hours. There's, and your mind's racing. It's like, you all these things happen, and at the same time, you want to do things the right way. You need to call the DNR. You're supposed to do all these different things that they ask you to do, and we wanted to make sure that we did what we were supposed to.
Well, it's kind of a blur. You're not even sure what happened.
Yeah, it really was, and it really wasn't until the end of the weekend. This happened on a Friday. It wasn't until the end of the weekend that we had made it back home and got him all cut up, and finally kind of put a tape on him to kind of see where he ended up. I didn't care, but then he started to look at the measurements, and I'm thinking that's better than I expected.
Yeah, where does he fall in the bow hunting or non-typical elk here in Michigan? Do you know even?
Yeah, he has been officially scored. So he's been scored for both commemorative bucks of Michigan and also Pope and Young.
Okay.
From my understanding through Pope and Young, that nobody from Michigan has recorded or registered a Pope and Young bull from Michigan. So he'll be actually number one and through Pope and Young in terms of a Michigan standpoint.
For bow and arrow elk.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then for commemorative bucks, he will. I guess he's going to be in the right around the top 20 of all time.
Wow.
With any weapon, and certainly because it was nobody's, from my understanding, registered a bull with archery equipment. I know they don't keep that type of record specifically, but nobody's registered one with commemorative bucks with a bow.
That's awesome. So you have a spot picked out on the wall at the house, or what are you getting a shoulder mount, full body?
No full body. Wife certainly wouldn't allow that taxidermy bill. But
She doesn't even want your full body in the house.
Right. I opted for a pedestal mount.
Nice.
So I've got a guy up north that's got the cape now, and he'll start working on that. So yeah, being a pedestal mount, I can kind of move it around the house, the room, and.
Well, it's a heck of an accomplishment. We appreciate you sitting down with us, and that reaction of both you and your buddies and family, whatever, was just priceless. So thanks for letting us put it on the show and share it with the state, and congratulations on a elk of a lifetime.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Can you believe this? Oh my word. Oh my word.
Well, here we are in Mount Pleasant again, right next to CMU's campus. We're here with Jim Wood at the Wood Shop Social, and I see venison backstrap.
Yep.
This is the time of year where people are putting them in the freezers. There's a lot of ways to cook them. What are we going to do today?
So we're going to do a black pepper crust, and we're going to make a herb hollandaise for it.
And that's not too hard to do?
No, this is super simple, actually.
All right, we'll get us started. How are you going to sear that off there?
Well, we're going to get our pan rolling here.
And people have asked, this is just a little butane burner?
Yeah,
Okay.
You can order these online. You can get them at if you live in a city that has a GFS marketplace, they have them there.
Okay. And most people know this, but I think you always want to kind of cook your venison to about medium rare kind of a thing?
Yeah, I mean,
Or rare?
Well, there's just no intramuscular fat with venison, with wild venison. So, yeah, keep it as whatever you can stomach.
Okay.
I mean, I'll eat it on rare, medium rare, never anything over medium rare
Yeah.
with venison loin.
It changes it quite a bit.
It does. We're going to get some pepper on the other side. Hit it with some more salt. This is actually probably the longest part of this dish. So now we're going to make the hollandaise while this is going.
Okay.
The easiest way to make hollandaise at home is a blender.
Okay.
Traditionally, they'd make this over simmering water with a pan. You'd whisk it, and it's kind of a nightmare.
We don't have time for that.
No, nobody wants to do that. I don't even want to do that. And that's the way you're supposed to do it. So right here we've got 3 egg yolks. We're going to start out with a little bit of lemon juice, because you can always add, but you can't ever take away.
Okay.
Got some smoked paprika here. Little bit of Dijon, just a touch. And now we're going to blend this real
So
quickly.
it's not a lot in there.
Nope. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we'll drizzle our melted butter in here. And that, for the most part, is done. So now we're just waiting on the venison. Add some herbs to our hollandaise here.
And what is that?
We've got basil and fresh rosemary. A lot more basil than rosemary.
Okay.
And once this venison is cooked about 2/3 of the way up, which it has, we're going to give it a flip. And that's the crust that I was talking about there.
And you have that on what, about a medium to medium high heat kind of a thing?
Actually, so these butane burners are a little different.
Okay.
It's pretty much always on high.
Oh, it is.
So
okay.
you try to get it as low as you possibly can. All right, so now that this is basically done,
Okay.
Right at the end, we put a big glob of butter in.
Ooh.
Sorry if I got you.
That's all right.
And we're just gonna turn it off the heat, and we're just gonna coat that butter over the top.
Wow.
Name of this dish is pepper encrusted seared venison loin with herb hollandaise.
Thank you so much for joining us this week for Michigan Out of Doors. Make sure you stick around in upcoming weeks. We've got some more hunting action in store for you. Everything from the late elk season to squirrel hunting is on its way.
That's right, and if you missed part of this week's show or last week's show, you want to see something again, you can always check us out on our website or our social media platforms as well. And if you want to see something on YouTube, you can always subscribe to our channel there and get an email every time we post something new. Lots of good stuff coming over the next several weeks. If we don't see you in the woods or on the water, hopefully we'll see you right back here next week on your PBS station.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by.
Do you dream of somewhere bigger than your backyard? You can get there with Greenstone. Whether you want to hunt, fish, hike, or just watch the sunset, we're ready to help you own your place in the great outdoors. To learn more, visit greenstonefcs.com.
By Alta Equipment Company, providing sales, rentals, service, and parts because uptime matters. From earth moving to landscaping and light construction, Alta offers over 50 brands across 7 Michigan locations to serve you. More information online or 844-GO-2-ALTA. By SCI. SCI helps protect, promote, and preserve wildlife through conservation practices, which include hunting. SCI supports and funds conservation programs in the state of Michigan. Learn more how you can get involved at a chapter near you.
By Jay's Sporting Goods, with locations in Clare and Gaylord. Jay's has been serving the Michigan outdoor enthusiast since 1971, with a wide variety of outdoor products. The gear, the knowledge, the tradition of Jay's. On the web at jaysportinggoods.com.
When I wander far away, a dream stays with me night and day. It's the road that leads to my home state. I am a Michigan man. Changing seasons paint the scene like rainbows.